The following is a presentation of the Chicago Bears Network and ChicagoBears.com. Download the Chicago Bears official mobile app for up-to-the-minute Bears content every day. And now, welcome to Bears All Access, your all-access pass into Chicago Bears football. Bears All Access is brought to you by IGS Energy and sponsored by Athletico Physical Therapy and CDW.
I could not be happier. First of all, it's a gorgeous day in Chicagoland, and the NFL season is upon us. The schedule now official. Coming up at around 7 o'clock, we do know the Bears will open up in L.A. against the Rams at SoFi Stadium. Fourth consecutive year they're going to play the Rams, a rivalry developing with the NFC teams. Welcome in to Bears All Access. We're brought to you by IGS Energy with my broadcast partner from News Radio 780 and 105.9 FM WBBM, the great Chicago Bear offensive guard, Tom Thayer. Good evening, Tom.
Big Jeff, it's going to be a lot like all your dinners. We have a lot to digest. And so when you think about the beginning of the season, you think about the coaches talking today. You think about us getting prepared to be at Hallis Hall to watch rookie minicamp. When you take all that in, you know, there's a lot of excitement on the table, and I'm looking forward to every step of it. The
only thing missing is a total return to normalcy, but we're knocking on that door, hopefully. But, yes, all the assistant coaches, the offensive coordinators spoke today. When you total it up, some 2 hours. A lot of questions you might suspect about rookie minicamp and the arrival of Justin Fields from Ohio State. We'll start with that right now with you and I and the quarterback coach John DeFilippo on the first steps for the Ohio State rookie.
The first thing we talked about this, you know, I guess we've been Zooming, last 2 weeks, I guess it is. And I mean, I'm not going to share the things that he and I shared in terms of our short-term goals, but one of them was, I'll tell you, one of them was to have command of the huddle. You know, that's show the other 10 guys in that huddle that you have some command and you've been working your butt off, calling the plays, knowing the cadence, knowing where to go with the football. It's not going to be a very in-depth installation in terms of the amount of plays, amount of formations, shifts, or motions in that thing. But I want to see him, those building blocks of becoming a starting quarterback in the league, and you start at the lowest of low. You start with the cadence, you start with the huddle, you start with knowing your first wide vision, which is everything that you have before you get the ball in your hand. Play clock, are we lined up correctly? What's the cadence? Is there a kill with the play? So the mechanics of playing quarterback, the mechanics of the first step of knowing our offense is what we're trying to build upon to when the veteran players come back.
And they do have a body of work from Ohio State, too, and his excellence there, Tommy.
Yeah, you know, it's weird because now when we talk about college quarterbacks coming out of their system, we have to talk about their presence in the huddle because some of these guys, Jeff, they don't huddle up. They look to the sideline, they look at those big poster boards up, and then they call a play for there. So, like they say, you got to have command in the huddle. You want to have it because the first thing you tell every single guy in that huddle is make eye contact with the quarterback. See what he's saying and see the quarterback, and then kind of filter the information that he's getting out, how it pertains to you. You talk about the pass concepts that he's going to have to learn, how he's going to bring the information from the classroom out into that huddle. And so we're going to see evidence of that, and all the coaches are going to see evidence of that immediately. And I think it's going to be really exciting because we're talking about the learning process of the quarterback position and how it fits into this type of athlete.
And really starting from square one here because you're stripping it down to the bare wire here, and it's big part on the shoulders for Andy Dalton, the starting quarterback at the moment, and Nick Foles, and for, I think it was Bill Lazor that said it, it's on the kid, the rookie, to learn from those guys and watch and ask questions as opposed to them trying to, teach him how to do it. Just watch, learn, listen, and go do your job. And it'll be an interesting scenario when it all comes out during training camp. But this is just the baby steps right now. We would be remiss. We got condolences to Tariq Cohen, Tom, and his family with the loss of his brother this week. Super hard, super difficult for anybody. Certainly somebody in the spotlight here, and rough road after an ACL tear last year. He was looking forward to getting back and working hard through his rehab to get back on the field. But condolences to the Cohens.
Oh, no doubt about it. His entire family, I feel so bad for him because when you receive information like that and you're not prepared for it, you don't know how you're going to handle it. because Tariq already in his life has overcome so many obstacles. When you talk about everything that's always referred to, they make reference to his size and how that will fit into football. And he's been able to come in here, and Jeff, we've seen his growth process from the first time we ever did an interview with him at an event to how he's the type of growth that he's shown to us in the last couple of years. He's a super engaging, intelligent personality who I really have grown to appreciate. However, he's got to be so supportive right now of his family like never before. And so prayers and everything that goes out from the entire Bears family and us as just individuals and knowing him as the person that he has become.
All right, coming up on the show tonight, we've got Jim Miller coming up from SiriusXM NFL Radio, the former Bears quarterback. He'll spend some time with us as always tonight. And coming up at the bottom of the hour, the rookie defensive back Patrick Graham out of Oregon will join the program as he gets ready for his maiden voyage in the NFL as well. Our producers tonight, Jordan Tredup, Dan Brilli, Julio Rosal, and the Score Studios. We're brought to you by IGS Energy. With Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak, back with Jim Miller and more here on Bears All Access on Chicago Sports Radio, 670 The Score. And welcome back to Bears All Access, brought to you by IGS Energy. Choose clean energy for your home at IGS.com because every good choice adds up to a better world. With Tom Thayer, Jeff Joniak, and we welcome in our buddy Jim Miller from SiriusXM NFL Radio is moving the chains with his buddy Pat Kerwin. Happy schedule release day, Jim Miller. It'll become official. We'll have it all for you at 6:45. Much of it's been leaked out all over the NFL landscape. Everybody works very hard on it. I'm sure you guys had all the important games today as well, but the one that matters the most for us, Bears-Rams, to open things up against a team that believes it's a Super Bowl contender. No question out there in L.A.
Yeah, for the Bears, good to be with you guys again. And, yeah, they're facing a familiar quarterback who they know in Matthew Stafford. So I think that immediately helps the Bears because that's a tough road game. There'll be a lot of fans there supposedly. We'll see what the state does out there. But SoFi Stadium, they are expected to have fans at the game so they can finally christen that stadium correctly. So it should be, a tough road game. It's a tough opening game against a team that's well coached by Sean McVay and with a new quarterback that really can sling it all over the lot. But the Bears at least are familiar with that style of play for Matthew Stafford.
And a couple of more primetime games leaked out as well. Looks like the Bears and Lions back on Thanksgiving. Some night game. Always with the Packers, you're going to have one of those that you can sketch it down at all times. But again, Tommy and I at around 6:45 will break it all down in more detail. But you knew who the opponents were, Jim. And I brought this up with Tom earlier today. I just love the quarterbacks. It's quite the collection of quarterbacks from young to old the Bears are going to face this year, from Stafford to Joe Burrow if he's healthy, a Baker Mayfield. You got, of course, the great Tom Brady. I'm assuming Aaron Rodgers will still be in Green Bay, although Blake Bortles reportedly coming aboard. Late word here tonight. Kyler Murray, the excitement of Kyler Murray, the excitement of Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson. I mean, if Trey Lance is going to be in the mix by at some point, or Jimmy Garoppolo's battle there, you got Derek Carr. I mean, you name it. We're facing it this year, and the Bears' defense is going to be tested across the board, fellas.
Yeah, they really are. And, that's a great group of quarterbacks that they're going to be facing. You just look at the overhaul on the AFC side of things. I mean, other than, the veterans, say, like Big Ben Roethlisberger, I mean, almost entirely the AFC is overturned from older quarterbacks to younger quarterbacks. So, and these are talented players that are playing right away. They're having impact for their team, and we'll see this year how it goes for young Trevor Lawrence, drafted by the Jaguars. A nice opening day for the Jets and Zach Wilson is that Sam Darnold gets to face them, tries to get a little revenge, but the AFC clearly there has been an overhaul at the quarterback spot. But the Bears' schedule, even with those young quarterbacks, they got some savvy veterans that know how to get it done. That is a tough group of quarterbacks they'll be facing.
We talk a lot about quarterbacks, but when you talk about the Bears' opening game and you talk about Khalil Mack versus Aaron Donald, you're talking about a monster preparation for both offensive lines over there. Because now I don't think you really have great mobility in Matthew Stafford, so that's going to put more pressure on the Rams' offensive line. And you have dominance by Aaron Donald, so that's going to put a lot of pressure on the Bears' offensive line. 3 sacks in the first game of the year throughout his career. Aaron Donald missed week 1 in 2017. and all those sacks are at home. So, yeah, he's only has 3 of them in the first week of the season. However, it's going to create some sleepless nights by the offensive line and where Aaron Donald will line up, because there's no guarantee he's going to line up over Cody Whitehair or over the right guard. He could be camping out over the left tackle, whoever that is, or he can even visit the right tackle. Aaron Donald has that type of skill. In the way his season concluded with tears on the sideline during the playoff game, this is going to be an emotional game for Aaron Donald, just like it should be for Khalil Mack.
And 4 months to get ready for him, Big Jim. So he's the defensive player of the year. Yeah, to think about him. Tom's already sweating as if he's playing him. Tom's already sweating. I can see it on his brow.
Yeah, Tom would have a sleepless night for 4 months, I would think about. But, it starts this weekend with the rookie minicamp. They're already going from phase 1 to phase 2, starting to break these rookies in. And, it's an exciting time. I'm just glad they're back in the building. I'm glad they're back in there working, and everybody's going to be able to conduct a full off season here. And, yeah, they'll have the protocols and everything set up for the players, but it's good to see it's already happening this early around the NFL.
Heard from Sean Desai, first-year defensive coordinator, 9th year with the Bears. He mentioned this the time he was promoted to the position. He reemphasized it again today on what he wants the defense to look like moving forward for the 2021 Chicago Bears.
I want this defense to be palpable. I want people around the city and around the country and the world that's watching this defense, whether it's live or on tape, to make sure they know the type of defense that we are. Whether you're a football fan or not, you're going to feel this defense. Physically and emotionally, and I think that's something that we're hoping to hang our hats on.
Tom, when you hear that emotionally as well, that means he wants these guys fired up, playing with their hair on fire, reckless abandon, the whole bit. And we've been asking for that. We've been asking for a very aggressive. Make it so that you dread playing this defense. Do they have the guys to pull that off? The type of mentality he's looking for.
Yeah, they have the type of guys that can pull this off, and they have growth and development. When you talk about Pro Bowlers in all 3 levels, when you talk about Akeem Hicks, and you talk about Khalil Mack, you talk about Roquan Smith, you talk about Eddie Jackson and how the other pieces fit into place. But then he also talks about the spirit of the defense, the physical approach and the emotional approach. Because, look, man, you cannot go out and play football emotionless. On the side of the Super Bowl ring that we won, Mike Ditka has a word, and it's called ACE, and it's attitude, character, and enthusiasm. And whether you're Mike Ditka in the 80s or Sean Desai in the 2000s, emotions, they got to be at a high point when you talk about the way a defense has to play at this level throughout the whole season, all 17 games.
I think it's about heart and obviously playing emotional like Tom talked about, but you got to have that pride. You as a player got to have that pride of what you want to accomplish. And I think here, look at the Bears; they were on the field too often. We've talked plenty this offseason about offensive accountability. That the offense has got to do better in taking drop points on the board and preserve the defense that was really thrown to the wolves. And they were still an 11th overall defense. I think if they don't log as many plays as they did defensively, they're definitely a top 10 defense. Really, all they've lost is the corner in full. So I think, this is a defense that can be a top 10 defense again, but they're going to need some help on the offensive side of the ball, with some accountability there. But heart and pride is what I say, and they'll be more for a little bit more rest.
Hey, Jim, we're going to have you redial because we're losing you, dropping out on your line. Help us out there if you can. We'll get back to you coming out of a break. Bill Shuey, Tom, the outside linebackers coach now, really was asked a lot of questions about Robert Quinn and his production, and that is a big component of this too.
It's not like there's something broke there, I don't think. I think it's something he's got the ability. He's got the career production. We and my job will be to make sure that he's put in positions where he can make more plays, and I think he's looking forward to doing that. I also think it's going to come out to balancing out the reps, the timeliness of getting him into the games at the right situations where he can be at his best.
Tommy, what do you think?
I'd be licking my chops if I was Robert Quinn, because there are extremely high expectations for the reason he was signed to come here for the Bears. And when you look at that opening opponent for the Rams, I said Matthew Stafford, he doesn't move around that. He's not going to be a Kyler Murray. He's going to be Matthew Stafford. So if they can get that push from Akeem and Khalil on the other side, Robert Quinn should be open to those sack opportunities. And he talks about how Robert Quinn has to finish the play. And you finish that play by either strip sacking the ball like he did the first opportunity he had to rush a passer this past year. And listen, man, I see Robert Quinn out of practice, and he works hard. He's the type of guy, if he comes in here, if he's healthy and physically ready to go, there's going to be concerns for him by every offensive coordinator.
All right, and the topic also of Trevis Gibson learning that position without the benefit of a complete offseason last year. That hurts players like that. All the coaches agree on that. And also, you got Jeremiah Tachu coming aboard as well, pass rusher. When we come back, we'll rejoin Jim Miller, Thomas Graham, the Bears cornerback, coming up at the bottom of the hour as well. This is Bears All Access, brought to you by IGS Energy on Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. The Chicago Bears Network presents Inside the Bears, brought to you by Verizon. Our good pal Anthony Adams and our friend Lawrence Greedon cover the world of Bears football on and off the field every Sunday night, 10:35 p.m. on Fox 32 Chicago, or watch anytime at chicagobears.com or on the Bears official app. With Tom Thayer, Jim Miller from SiriusXM NFL Radio's Moving the Chains. Jim, we heard from offensive coordinator Bill Lazor later this afternoon. I'm not certain you got a chance to hear that. We're going to play a chunk right here, but I do appreciate when coaches like himself say that they feel a great responsibility when you got a raw talent like he's bringing in here with Justin Fields to help develop while balancing that act of, having a starting quarterback, a veteran in Andy Dalton, and another one on the roster in Nick Foles.
I probably think more of a responsibility to the development of the player. And I've talked to Justin about that. But with as a coach, I think you feel personally, I feel personal responsibilities to these guys. Again, I like working with adults, but I think you can still affect people's lives. In all seriousness. And so I try to have a responsibility to affect their lives in a positive way. Number one, outside of football. Number two, I want them to feel like I also have their best interest in mind. Even if the decision I have to make or the opinion I have to give to Matt and Ryan on personnel decisions, it's got to start with what's the best thing for us to winning games. But at the same time, hopefully I've built a trust with them that they also know that I have their personal development as a player in mind, and that I'm going to help them as best that I possibly can. And I think the thing that I learned when you come to this league from college is, especially when you're a young coach, well, how's it going to be dealing with some guys that are the same age as you, right? The first time I was an NFL quarterback coach, the quarterback was actually older than me by just a little bit, okay? And so how do you get them to listen to you? Like, all these things go through your mind. And a friend who had predated me joining the NFL told me, hey, start by, coaching the young guys with exactly what you know. And as soon as you show them that you can help them be better, that you can make them a better player, like that, the bond, the trust, it all falls into place, and it's just coaching. And so I hope that they know, and I've described that to Justin, but I hope that they know that I have their best interest as a player in mind also, and that I take responsibility in helping them develop. And, there's only so many things you can focus on at once. So I let them know I care about them as a person, do what I think is best for the team to win, and then hopefully they can feel that I'm trying to help them become a better player. And I really think then the development, if I can be focused on those three things, then I got to trust that the big picture is going to take care of itself.
Boy, I counted about 6 words in there, trust, Jim Miller, about that. And that trust thing, if for a quarterback who comes into a situation like this, a veteran or rookie, is that the number one?
Yeah, I think from the coach said all the things I needed to hear. One, am I making the player better? Players will buy in. It doesn't matter, where you've coached before. or even if you haven't played the game of football, a player is going to judge their coach by, is he making me a better player? And if you've got that quote buy-in, you're going to work harder, and that player is going to, have that trust because he knows that, hey, how this guy is coaching me, I feel I've made improvements and I've bettered my game. And as Coach said, he takes great responsibility in bringing quarterbacks along, and that should be true at any position for any coach because it's a foundational block. When you get to the NFL, your first year, that's your foundation, right? And then those building blocks are moving on. You keep on building every single year with another building block. And I think for players, they got to be, if you teach the player the right tools to equip them to go out and play, then you're going to earn it that way as well. But clearly they're not going to throw Justin Fields to the wolves. I don't think anybody should put in a young quarterback who clearly is not ready to play. When they're ready to play, that's when you put them on the field. I think the Bears have said that every single time, whether it's Matt Nagy, whether it's a coach like Bill Lazor, who both have brought along quarterbacks many a time in their NFL careers, and it'll be no different for Justin. But they've got to get a feel for the player, what he does, what he doesn't do, what areas that he needs to work on, and they'll give him those tools for him to build and get better. And, of course, there's got to be the want to by the player. Justin Fields has got to want to be great, and he's got to buy in and do all the work that is necessary for him to achieve all of his goals to be a starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I like the fact that Bill feels responsible because I think that's the reason he's still coaching in the NFL. If you didn't accept that responsibility, especially at the most high-profile position of any team, he would be in the league and out of the league. However, when you talk about responsibility you feel to the quarterback position, when you walk into the huddle, it affects 10 other guys. And when you get that quarterback prepared, you can get him to a certain level where you get him prepared and confident. But Coach Stanfeld, our offensive line coach, used to tell us, is I can only coach you so much, and then you have to start coaching yourself. Once you learn the things you have to improve on, you start coaching yourself, it's going to help you be a better player.
That's Tom Thayer. Jim Miller, we're going to step away, break, and when we come back, cornerback Thomas Graham of the Bears rookie draft class of 2021 headed to Hallis Hall for a weekend of activities. Rookie minicamp. Starting to make it feel like the season's around the corner. And the schedule release will have the official word, 6:45. Stick around. This is Bears All Access on Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. This segment of Bears All Access is brought to you by Athletico Physical Therapy. Visit athletico.com to request an appointment in clinic or virtually and start feeling better tomorrow. Jeff Joniak, Tom Thayer, Jim Miller from SiriusXM NFL Radio. Moving the chains, joining us as well. Charles Leno Jr. was released. He signed in Washington, and so now a lot of attention, Jim, will be on Tevin Jenkins. Tevin Jenkins will get a chance to compete for that starting left tackle spot, and Juan Castillo talked about the reputation that we're hearing that he's developed over time here as a physical finisher.
He just started becoming like that over the last year. It wasn't like he was just a nasty type guy like that. He started developing that confidence in the way you play. Well, that's the same thing that we're talking about here. Now we've used this technique in over a year. So now the guys got confidence in what they're doing. It's more natural. Now we're going to play a little more physical. We're going to finish. Finishing is part of when you finish, you play physical.
And Jim, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Tevin definitely has that in his background. He's kind of an old school type of player. He's kind of a throwback. So the notes I had on him is he's got extremely strong hands, and that was the note there that he's a good finisher because he's got the torque and the strength in those strong hands to really kind of manhandle his opponents. And I think once he realizes that, and Tom can echo this, a lot of it is stalemates in the NFL, but when you can physically punish your opponent, and I think Tevin has that type of ability. I mean, this guy's a big guy, 6'5", 320 pounds, has the athleticism, but his strength, I think, is a big part of his game, and why I kind of classify him as an old-school tackle that does have a nasty level to him that he can take to another level, is what I'd say about him.
Yeah, the first thing Juan said when he came here is he wants his offensive line to be physical and he wants them to finish. And if Tevin can bring that along with him and work alongside whatever left guard he's going to play with and then the tight end position equally as well, then shoot, I like to see the potential in this guy and the growth opportunities. And again, they explain the reason that he didn't have a career at left tackle is because the other tackle was hurt, and so he moved over unselfishly.
All right, here's a guy we're going to introduce to Chicago tonight. Good to have him. Oregon's defensive back Thomas Graham, now a Chicago Bear, and headed to rookie minicamp this weekend. Welcome to Chicago, Thomas. Jeff Joniak, Tom Thayer. Two former Bears here. Not me, I'm just the broadcaster, but Tom Thayer, veteran guard, and Jim Miller, former quarterback of the Chicago Bears, joining us as well. Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Bears All Access. How would you describe your excitement level right now about coming into town, getting up at Hallis Hall, and actually getting on grass?
Man, it's amazing and it feels good. This is like a dream come true for me. I always told myself since I was like 4 years old that I was going to be able to get a chance to play in the NFL, and now I do. So it's just kind of hard work and making sure my dream becomes a reality.
Do you have butterflies?
Yes and no. I have butterflies just because more like for the fact of being able to step on that field and say, like, I'm in the NFL and I'm playing for an NFL team. But outside of that, I'm ready for the moment.
Hey, Thomas, I was watching the video when Matt Nagy called you to tell you that you were drafted. And I know by your reaction, you, like me, I'm the same way. I thought I was going to be drafted higher. You thought you were going to go higher because he said, Thomas, how are you? And you said, it's been a long day and I'm frustrated. So, listen, man, I like that about you. So, was that the fact there that, that it became a long day because you knew that you were going to go higher?
Yes, I thought I would go higher, but I feel like my parents was just talking me down, just telling me like it's gonna happen and you'll get the call, just like wait and relax. But being an ancient kid, like I was impatient about it, so I was just like you feel me? When am I gonna get it? When am I gonna get it? And finally, I got the call, and it was just amazing.
Well, Thomas, Jim Miller here. Welcome to Chicago. Hey, don't worry about that sixth round, dude. I got drafted in the sixth round, and I made it over a decade. You'll be just fine if you put in the work, and obviously just getting your foot in the door to have that opportunity, and you've got it here in Chicago. And maybe just let the listeners know. Tell them about your game. Tell them about your attitude, the type of player you are, and what they can expect for you as a Chicago Bear that they're going to be cheering on.
You're going to get a young man that has very high football IQ. I thank my dad for that. He always had me around the game. He was the coach, so I'm a coach's son. So a lot of the things I do, I try to use my mind always more than I use my physical abilities, but I do have them. A very confident young man that's going to walk around with that swagger. I play corner, so it's like that different swagger that we walk around with. But a young man that's just going to come in and work. I had to do it when I went to Oregon. I had to do it in high school, and I'm going to do it now. I know that it was always hard work. I wasn't always the most athletic and stuff like that, but I always made plays when my name was called. So I plan on keep doing that.
New Chicago Bear defensive back Thomas Graham joining the program here for a few minutes as he gets ready to get to Hallis Hall and Bears minicamp this weekend with Tom Thayer, Jim Miller, Jeff Joniak. Thomas, the one thing watching all your highlights, and there's a lot of them, believe me. I mean, yes, you had an opt-out year last year, but you have a lot of experience. And I look at this. It's not by accident you played 40 games and you got 40 plays on the ball. I mean, that's hard to do. That timing you have just speaks of a lot of instincts right there. How would you characterize that aspect of your game and how competitive you are at the catch point?
My favorite player growing up, like no matter what sport it was Kobe Bryant. So he always talked about just being more mentally prepared than your opponent in everything you do. So I always kind of just made sure I watched the extra film. I did all the little things. He always talked about doing little things and just having that mindset of just never giving up and attacking everything with your all. So I think that's kind of what played a big key in my opportunity to be able to make those plays on the ball. Arizona State, when we played, that was probably one of my biggest games my sophomore year, was all just being able to have mentally prepared for that game. I knew exactly what route I was getting before they ran it. So as soon as they ran it, I was just like, wow, like this is how film really works. And I just kind of kept going from there.
Tommy, you had a really impressive list of colleges that were offering you full scholarships. You're from California. You could have went to anywhere you want. What brought you up to Oregon?
Coach Taggart. I'll give him a big credit for that. Coach Taggart brought me up to Oregon, and then my high school teammate Jalen Red went up there too in Diameter, Illinois. He's now with the San Francisco 49ers. But those three people all together recruited me hard, and they was just like, let's come create a secondary. And then Coach Taggart was just like, let's help rebuild Oregon. And I always like being part of a rebuild for a program. So I was just like, let my class be something. So we always went by 2017 while we was up there, and it was just like kind of a hard decision at first because a coach that ended up coaching me at Oregon, Dante Williams, was at Nebraska at that time point. And I was just like, dang, I really want to get coached by Dante, but I want to stay on the West Coast.
Well, from your standpoint, since you opted out last year, you got to be itching to get back on the field. What have you been doing to improve your game? I know you got to stay and do all things, but what have you been working on through your opt out?
When I trained basically all the way until pro day, it was working on just my linear speed and then kind of just fixing my body. I felt like my body wasn't as good as I wanted it to be, and I started eating better. Eating better, I think, probably was the best thing I possibly ever done. It gave me more natural energy. I'm not always drowsy. Eating fast food in college is not the move. So I think that was very big for me. And then since then, I've been just working with Coach Dante since I've been in California and just training on just being able to be on the field, changing directions, working on my press, working on the little things that he seen wrong when he was up there at Oregon with me, and just doing all the little things right to make sure my game can be great and adjust to the next level.
Thomas Graham, our final moments with the Bears' new defensive back. You're going to be coached by Deshae Townsend in addition to Sean Desai, who's the defensive coordinator, but Deshae Townsend carries a lot of weight as an NFL player for many years with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New York Giants. He also helped out with coaching the Arizona Cardinals. Does that matter to you, that a guy that lined up with that kind of organization and a physical team, and that's exactly what the Bears want to be, a nasty physical defense? Does that fit your profile?
Yes, it does. You could just go watch the film. I make plays on screens. I make plays in the run game. So it's just like I like being physical. I think it's no point of playing football if you just want to be soft and timid the whole time. I know I play corner, and that's the position probably with the least contact, people would say, but I always try to make contact as many plays as I can.
All right, well, we'll be looking forward to meeting you, and welcome to Chicago. Enjoy your weekend. Hopefully the weather will treat you right, and better yet, you'll be an instant impact with your teammates. I'm sure that's your personality. It sounds like it is. So welcome to Chicago, Thomas.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.
Thomas Graham, our guest here on Bears All Access. Another segment with Jim Miller. We'll look at the Bears' schedule as we come back. The opening of the season in L.A. against the Rams. This is Bears All Access on Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. Well, it's a big night. The schedule is official. Chicago Bears single game tickets on sale right tonight at 8:30 p.m. So get yours at chicagobears.com/tickets. We hope to see you at Soldier Field and the other 9 trips during the regular season we plan on making this year to see Bears fans traveling. So let's break it down, fellas. Jim, you ready?
Yeah.
Let's
do it.
So it starts with the Rams. We know that. The first home game, Bengals following week, so Joe Burrow and the fellas coming. So I'll kind of do this in quarters. At Cleveland with Baker Mayfield and a team that feels they're going to be a title contender. And then home against Detroit with Jared Goff. The road team won both meetings a year ago on the October 3rd. I'll throw in the Vegas game because that's really the extra game, the 17th opponent, as it were, because both teams finished in second place. So Derek Carr and the fellas in Vegas. So that takes you to October 10th. A 5-pack of games. Jim, quick thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think, you got a couple of playoff teams mixed in there, right? So they got to be ready for that. With, the Browns, they feel that they're an ascending team. So that's going to be a tough road game, I would think, for the Bears to go on the road and take on the Cleveland Browns that are kind of puffing their chest a little bit. But, all those other games I think are winnable games for the Chicago Bears. I think they easily could get off to a good start with that schedule, what they have. So, can they go 3 out of 3-1 in that 4-game span? I think that's a legitimate thought process to win 3 out of 4 in every quarter of the season, and I think they're able to do that.
Those 5 games there's 3 road games. And, Tom, I look at the different types of quarterbacks, again, in that first 5 games of the season. All right, let's go to the next group. Then it's the Packers here at Soldier Field. Of course, the Packers have won 19 of 22. Andy Dalton with a 114.7 quarterback rating against Green Bay. Then at Tampa, home to San Francisco. And then at Pittsburgh for your first, make that your second primetime opponent, Ben Roethlisberger and the fellas, right before the Week 10 bye week, Tommy.
You know, to me, I look at all those games, it is going to be a rough schedule. They're all going to be physical and talented. You know, when you go to Pittsburgh, they're not going to sell tickets to the Bears fans. All those other games, you're going to be able to get in a big mix of Bear fans in support. So I always respect going to Pittsburgh, and everybody knows what Tampa's going to provide. They got the GOAT, and so it could be a hot day. They got to be in good condition, and you're going to have to make sure that all the coaches today, they talked about the development of depth. The development of depth is going to be on display when they play in Tampa because, again, you could get one of those 85-degree days in mid-October that could really challenge your conditioning.
And then
second.
Oh, go ahead, Jimmy.
Well, that second block, that's their toughest stretch. I'm looking at the schedule. To me, that's their toughest stretch. You're facing the world champions. That's on the road. 49ers are a much better team, and you got to believe Jimmy Garoppolo will be the quarterback for them. They still have a really good defense, and offensively, they'll rebound, I think. And then the Steelers, they're a playoff team as well. Injuries hurt them down the stretch. So, to me, that's their toughest stretch of games. And then they'll have their bye week and come out and face the Ravens, which was another playoff team. So that's really the meat of their schedule that they really have to be on point if you're Chicago.
Right. It does extend into that next group because, yes, Baltimore, then at Detroit on Thanksgiving. So, Tom, we know what it's like there on Thanksgiving. I mean, and then you get home and you get Kyler Murray in Arizona on the 5th of December. And then you go to Green Bay for a primetime game against the Packers. And then you got another primetime game against the Minnesota Vikings and Kirk Cousins. The Bears have won 5 of 6. So that 5-pack of games plus the 4 that we just mentioned that Jim just broke down, that's 9 very important games right there.
Yeah, you know, Detroit on Thanksgiving Day, man, that's their season. And I think this new head coach that they have up in Detroit, along with advisor Chris Spielman, they're going to want to capture the emotions of the supporting crowd of Detroit under the roof where the crowd noise is going to be unbearable at times. So it's going to be a couple difficult atmospheres of divisional opponents with Detroit, Green Bay, and the Vikings. And everybody knows what Kyler Murray, the type of athlete he is and what he has the ability to be. But, you know, the Bears defense has to be up to the task.
Jim, do you believe Arizona feels it's a title contender now with what they've done?
Yeah, I think they know it's starting to heat up on Cliff Kingsbury, and I think they feel it's been an arms race this offseason for the NFC West. Those teams have all been competing. Remember, they were the first to land J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt was on the street, maybe at 24 hours, and he signed with Arizona. So they've been pretty aggressive because they've got to keep up with the Joneses out there in the NFC West. I thought Arizona had a really good offseason, and they feel that they're going to make a push towards the playoffs.
All right, then the final 3 games. You got to go out to Seattle. So not many of these short week games. Obviously, you got to, Baltimore to Detroit. Is the short week, before Thanksgiving. Then you get a longer break against Arizona. But then you got a primetime game against the Vikings, and then you go out to Seattle. Hey, we all know what the distraction of Christmas week can be, and it's a long trip and a loud stadium the day after Christmas, a 3:05 start against Russell Wilson and the Seahawks, Tommy.
Yeah, you don't want to blame it on a holiday. I like the late start out there. It gives you a little bit of chance for your body to wake up. However, that is the most disruptive crowd in all of the NFL. And if Seattle has a packed stadium, you could see a really a challenged offense to be as efficient as you will be at home or lesser filled up stadiums.
And Jim, 2 tricky games to wrap up. In January now, you play 2 weekends into January. The Giants at Soldier Field with Daniel Jones. The Giants should be improved. We don't know, obviously. We're doing this all from ground zero here. We don't know how injuries and development or lack thereof will impact these teams. And then to finish up again at Minnesota. The Bears have done very well at Minnesota in that final game of the year. Will it matter? Should it matter? With the 17 games, will it matter? I mean, these are a lot of things we don't know the answers to. How do you shape up those final couple games?
Yeah, I think, well, one, you mentioned it well, that about the Week 18. The Bears feel that they've got confidence. They've gone up into that building a couple times, more than once, and taken down the Minnesota Vikings. So I do think that will permeate through the locker room because there is a belief that they can get it done from that standpoint. That Giants game, that's a team that's building. I thought their first 3 draft picks, when you look at Azeez Ojulari, who they drafted, and the other 2 players who they selected, those are all impactful players that the Giants added. And you got to remember, that's the game that Saquon Barkley got hurt, right, was against the Bears. Yeah. And he'll probably be back for that matchup. So they are a much better team than the Bears beat up on the last time.
But it all opens up for Sean Desai and the fellas against the Rams. 4th straight year playing this LA team.
There's moments in each of those games where I'm sure they can look back, Sean McVay and those guys, and we can look back and say, hey, here's where the game kind of turned. So I think that's going to be exciting for us to take on that challenge early in the year. And then obviously, I mean, going up against Matt for the years I've gone against him, I mean, he's obviously a special player. So that'll present another unique challenge besides the system that they got there, and they got a different quarterback now. So that'll be fun.
And Matthew Stafford, 14-point third quarter was the difference in that game for the LA Rams and the victory over the Bears 24-10. It is a tough schedule, yes. But everybody in the division, Jim, has the same type of opponents. So the top 7 in the league, all 4 from the division, are in the most difficult category as we sit here today. Obviously it changes over the course of the year.
Yeah, it's a difficult schedule, but like you said, it's the same for everybody in that division. Teams are going to have to wade through injuries. There's going to be ebb and flows. We don't even know if a quarterback's going to arrive up there in Green Bay. So that could factor in. And you got a team building in Detroit that's looking to start over. So they're trying to do a foundational year there, and you have to figure out what to expect from them. But, the Bears are talented enough to do it. They'll be prepared to play, and, you just play the next one that's on the schedule. That's all you can do. So no sense crying about it. You got to go line up every single week and go get it done.
Yeah, the preseason, Tommy, are going to be all Saturday games. There's only 3. The one that start things off against Miami, it'll be a noon start on Saturday the 14th, and then Buffalo the next Saturday, and then Tennessee on the road, a 6 p.m. start on August 28th, and the season begins on September 12th. So we're in the past. So that's a pretty good chunk of time from August 28th to September 12th to get yourself mentally ready for that first game of the year. Do you like that little break in between there?
Yeah, I do. But, in the preseason, I'm going to like to see how the coaches get themselves organized. There's going to have to be a line of communication from Sean Desai wherever he is, up in the booth or on the sideline. And then you're going to see how the new coaches on the staff, how they work the sidelines and they work during the game. So, we're going to be looking at players, how they perform on the field, but we're also going to be looking at coaches and how they start fitting into their roles.
Jim, well, before we let you go, heard from all the coaches with Ted today, and almost every single one of them said, hey, nothing beats getting on these guys hands-on the grass. This is going to be the constant tug of war now between what the union wants is voluntary, but the more they can get guys in the OTAs, the better they feel about evaluating players, and I agree with them.
Yeah. Well, you look at the rookies and the first-year players that the Bears added, none of their agents are telling those players to stay away, and they won't stay away, because they know they have to earn a spot on that roster. So I think attendance will be good for the Chicago Bears, not only for the Bears. It's already happening all around the league. These players are going to show up and give themselves the best chance to make a roster. And what better place to do it with what happened with Juwan James out there for the Denver Broncos? He tears his Achilles working out away from the facility. If you're away from the facility, your contract is not guaranteed. So why not go into that beautiful Clyde Emmerich weight room and get your work done, because your contract will be guaranteed.
Yeah, I guarantee you, the Bears put together a great working atmosphere in that beautiful facility, and it's a positive working atmosphere led by Nagy. So let's get these guys coached on the field and let them perform during the regular season.
Fellas, we're out of time. Good job as always. Big Jim, we'll talk to you next week. Thanks for joining us again, buddy.
Sounds good, man. Always good to be with you guys.
Jim Miller, Tom Thayer, Jeff Joniak, producer Julio Roseo, Jordan Tredup, Dan Brilli. Thanks to Thomas Graham and all of you for listening. Coming up next, stick right here. More of this NFL schedule release breakdown of the Bears rookie minicamp from Anthony Herron ahead on Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for listening to this Chicago Bears Network presentation of Bears All Access. Podcasts are available on chicagobears.com and on iTunes, or download the official Bears mobile app. Bears All Access has been brought to you by IGS Energy and sponsored by Miller Lite.